Hold your hand up when we're live. Hey guys, it's Robbie. The show is starting now. We're going to be talking all about the tweet that went crazy today, where I was essentially exposing what a fraud our media is and how the bombing of the hospital in Gaza was a total hoax by the media, totally misdescribing what happened over there. So we're going to go through the whole thing top to bottom, the implications of it. But before that, as people are joining in, you know, I just want to say here, we'll pull up that tweet so that people can see what we're going to start with on discussion today. It's right here. So this is the one we're talking about here. And if you didn't see it yet, essentially, it's saying after all the drama yesterday, it turns out that the Gaza hospital was not bombed. The parking lot was, and 500 people didn't die. Oh, and the rocket wasn't from Israel. It was from a failed rocket that Palestinian terrorists shot at Israel. Absolutely insane. So, as I said, as we're getting going here, we're going to start light because we're going to give people time to join the live. I'm adding it now to that thread and telling people to join us in this conversation now by calling in. So that's same with you guys. You can call in today to the show to talk about these subjects with me. The number to call in is 615 703 5888. That's 615 703 5888. You'll be able to talk about this live with me, and you can call in if you disagree, you agree. We're not screening the calls. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but we're not. So you're able to call in. We'll have a discussion about these things. This is going to be our main topic, but also the insurrection in DC. Before we dive into that, though, we're going to go light. We'll start light with some news from Australia. All right, so let's check this out. We've got this headline. Maxim Australia names trans-identified male football coach. I think that's soccer because it's Australia. In the hottest 100 women list. We're going to go ahead and pull up a photo of this illustrious top 100 woman. And I'm fully aware, guys, that YouTube is definitely going to ban me at some point. But we're not going to hide from the truth. I mean, this is ludicrous. Everybody understands this is ludicrous, right? I mean, what planet is everybody living on? Sometimes I feel like we are in absolute clown world, and by sometimes I mean pretty much all the time. And most of the stories today are going to center around what a clown world this has become. But we're also solutions oriented. We're trying to get the truth out there, and I think we're doing a good job of that. And part of this, the purpose of this show, what makes it special, what makes us different, is the fact that we include your voice. Very few podcasts, in fact, I don't know of any. I know of radio shows that do this, but I don't know of any podcasts who let the viewers call in and have their voice heard unscreened. We're not looking for like friendly callers. We'll take everybody. 615-703-5888. You can call in as we discuss these topics. And I think that's special because, you guys are the voice that matters, and we don't hear from you enough. And I think that's very important because I think maybe like me, most of you are sick of hearing from the DC elitists who try to tell everybody what they should think. I think that their foreign policy failures in recent years speak very loudly. So that was the first story off the jump. I mean, I just feel like we are living in clown world. And to go along with that, we've got this new NYU law students saying that a classmate losing their job offer over a pro-Hamas statement is violence, literal violence. Okay. Rhino Workman says Israel bears full responsibility for Hamas attacks that have killed thousands, lost a job opportunity, and these other students say it is literal violence. These people grew up a little bit after me. Okay. This is like the generation after me. And maybe they just need somebody to tell them. Literal violence is actual physical violence. It is not you feeling upset because somebody said something you didn't like. It's not losing your job because you acted like a moron. Those things are not violence. Somebody walks up and punches you in your face at work. That is violence. Okay. You could just check that box. It's like, that the Google CAPTCHA code thing where it's like, check all the motorcycles. Okay, I think you guys need this, but with check all the violence. And you only check the ones where somebody is hitting somebody or physically assaulting them. If somebody is saying something mean, you don't check that box. Okay, it's very simple stuff, not difficult to understand. So, that's another one of those stories that we're going to start light with today. There's this one as well. I saw this poll. This is from PBS, and it's a hypothetical three-way presidential contest between Biden, Trump, and RFK Jr. Okay, and in this poll, showing Biden winning, which is mind-blowing. Okay, absolutely mind-blowing that there's anybody who wants to vote for this absolute catastrophe. But apparently, there's people still out there who think it's a good idea. Okay. You look at this poll, though, it's very clear Kennedy is not pulling from Biden. Okay. In fact, in the poll without Kennedy, Trump is way further up, and Biden is barely any different. I mean, Kennedy's not pulling almost anything from Biden. My prediction is if Kennedy stays in this race, he is the single person who can hand the election to Democrats. Maybe that's the purpose of him being in the race. I don't know. I can't say. I can say I have friends even who like him a lot. And I will even say I appreciate his stance when it comes to vaccines. I appreciate his stance on medical freedom. I appreciate the things he's done in those regards. I even think some of the environmental stuff he's done has actually been really good, like clean water. Everybody should be able to rally around clean water. I also think there's insane things like, he was not very long ago in recent years talking about people, facing legal consequences or potentially jail over denying climate change. I mean, that's lunacy. We live in America with the First Amendment. So I'm not the biggest, RFK supporter at this point because of the fact that, he has these left-wing views, and he's clearly, in my view, in the race to be a spoiler. If he was running in the Democrat primary, I would say, you know what, this is a great thing for the country because the Democrats need a more moderating force. Okay, they're going so far left. They need that person who's going to say, hey, let's dial it back on the COVID crazy. Let's dial it back. Let's stop the mandates, stop the lockdown energy, stop all this crazy stuff we've been doing. I think that would be a really good thing for the country. But that's just not where we're at. And if we want to talk a little bit more about this far left-wing tilt of the Democratic Party, this is a perfect story. Schiff, this is from Fox News, by the way. Schiff, Porter, that's Katie Porter and Adam Schiff, urged to drop out of the California Senate race because they are white in name of genuine equality. They mean equity, but they're saying equality. And the subheadline is Reps Schiff and Porter should sacrifice their egos and ambitions for equality. And again, they mean equity, not equality. Okay. And it goes on and says, all kinds of craziness in terms of why this should happen. And then it says, I loved this part. We'll get to the rest in a second, but this was my favorite part of the story. It says, after Senator Feinstein passed away at 90 in September, California Governor Gavin Newsom appointed Democrat strategist LaFonza Butler, who was the head of Emily's List, by the way, which is a major Democrat booster. They spend tons of money in elections, get boots on the ground. The reason he did that, by the way, is because he plans to run for president one day, possibly 2024, and he needs Emily's List behind him. So he named the head of Emily's List to be a United States senator, despite the fact she lived in Maryland and is not a Californian, not even for a week. Okay, her recent FEC filing, which I posted, is from her address in Maryland. Beside the point, it says to temporarily fill Feinstein's seat, he named that lady. Some progressives celebrated the governor fulfilling his oath to replace an empty Senate seat with a black woman, while others criticized it. Okay. Barbara Lee is the person they're talking about who criticized it, who is a black woman, who's a congresswoman, who's a Democrat, and she is running for Senate for that seat. And she says the idea that a black woman should be appointed only as a caretaker to simply check a box is insulting to countless black women across this country who have carried the Democratic Party to victory election after election. Okay. Total BS. Had she been named to the seat, she'd be hailing Gavin Newsom as like the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, let's not fool ourselves here. But I will say this, with how crazy the Democratic Party has gotten, they are pushing these ideas of racial hiring practices and quotas in the workplace. So my view is, you know what, if people like Adam Schiff, Katie Porter are going to allow this to fester throughout the Democratic Party and encourage it even, and we end up at a place where we see in corporations, they are making racial hiring preferences, which is totally against the spirit of equality, then why shouldn't they be subject to it too? You know what? In some weird way, I kind of agree with the author. If they want to push that crap on everybody, then they should give their seats up. Show everybody before you try to make us do it. You do it. You guys jump away from those seats. Give them to somebody else. Okay. Then maybe we'll take you guys seriously. We won't, but maybe. Okay. Because this is just insane. Absolutely insane. I will say, before we get into the craziness in the Middle East, because that's going to be the bulk of what we talk about today, and this insurrection. Those are going to be the two big main topics. We're going to hit just a couple quick things first. One is that I've got a good piece of news. I'm going to play this video from Arkansas, and I think it's something everybody needs to see because our friend Sarah Huckabee Sanders, great governor of Arkansas, she has just done something that needs to happen in every state. So here we go.
I was proud to sign Act 636, sponsored by Senator Johnson and Representative Vaught, banning foreign parties from 9 enemy countries from owning agricultural land in Arkansas. And today, we are acting on that law. I'm announcing that Syngenta, a Chinese state-owned agrochemical company, must give up its land holdings in Arkansas. Syngenta owns 160 acres in Northeast Arkansas, which it uses primarily for seed research. The company that owns Syngenta, Chem China, is also on the Department of Defense's list of Chinese military companies posing a clear threat to our state. Seeds are technology. Chinese state-owned corporations filter that technology back to their homeland, stealing American research and telling our enemies how to target American farms. That is a clear threat to our national security and to our great farmers, especially since the Chinese government enacted a law in 2017 requiring Chinese citizens abroad to collaborate with their country's security officials on intelligence work with no questions asked. This isn't about where you're from. We welcome Chinese Americans, Russian Americans, and anyone else who's given up foreign oppression for American freedom. This is about where your loyalties lie. We simply cannot.
That is exactly right. This is about where your loyalties lie. Sarah Huckabee Sanders did something every governor in the United States of America needs to do, something I've been calling for years. We know these companies are out there that are agents of the Chinese Communist Party. This is not difficult. This is not hard. Use your authority as governor to shut these companies down, take their land, and you know what? You give it back to the people of your state. Okay. If these companies don't sell it by the sell by date, you give them a window of time to sell it. If they don't sell it by sell by date, you take it, you give it to your people in your state, and you use it for good things that serve the people here instead of serving the Communist Party because they were a threat. I believe we've got a call. Oh, the call dropped. Okay. If you want to call in, talk about any of these things, call 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. And we can talk about these things. But I'm a big fan of what Sarah did. I think that it is absolutely incredible, and it's something to be praised by everybody. And so I encourage people, reach out to your governor's offices, send them this video, send them what Sarah did. Okay, it's very easy to find. Go online, search, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Arkansas, China ban, land ban, whatever it is. Okay, any of those things should pull up the story. And I encourage you to send it to your governor's offices and ask them what they're doing to stop this, because this only ends in a bad place. I think everybody understands that. If you saw the story earlier this week, where we talked about the lady, Mickey Miller, who was a realtor and a nurse who was saying she celebrated the death of what she called maggots, which is a dehumanizing way to refer to people who are conservative or vote for Trump. She was saying she celebrated that. No nurse should say something like that. That went kind of viral. People reached out to her workplace. We did get this today sent in by somebody. Adina Realty says that Mickey Miller is no longer with Adina Realty. So that's a little piece of justice, because, I don't generally like cancel culture, but I'm sorry, there are certain lines in society. And I would say one is, when you're in healthcare, you don't treat people differently based on their political preferences. You don't say, oh, this is a death I'll celebrate because they vote for a different political party than me. Okay, that's just a sick thing to do. Don't be in medicine if you've got that mindset. If you're a nurse or a doctor, you just are there to help people, not force things on people. Okay, not force shots on people, not force things they don't want. You're there to help, and to help them get healthy and prevent them from dying if you're able to. Okay. It should never even be a thought that crosses your mind what political party they belong to, or what they prefer. Okay. Now we're going to start to kind of dive into what's going on in the Middle East here, because that's really a bulk of this. So let's Let's start with this. Joe Biden plans to ask Congress for $100 billion in Ukraine and Israel aid. Before I go further on this, if you have thoughts about this, call in, because I know some of you guys have thoughts about this. 615-703-5888. $100 billion in aid he's requesting from Congress. The package aims to leverage support for Israel after Hamas attack. Let me tell you the truth. This isn't even about Israel. Again, this is about Ukraine. They know the only way to continue the slush fund in Ukraine with no oversight is to couple it with Israel, because they know that there's a significant number of people in Congress who support aid to Israel. They also know that they're at the point where they are not quite at the threshold to have enough support to pass more Ukraine aid. Okay, because it's become incredibly unpopular among people in America. The people are starting to realize, oh, East Palestine in Ohio, well, they didn't get very much. Oh, Maui after the fires, oh, they didn't get very much. Okay, they were left, with less than $1,000. And this is where we're at. Is then we give this money to them. So we've got a caller. We'll bring them on. When you hop on, just tell us your name, where you're from.
South Carolina.
You're from South Carolina? Sorry, I missed your name. What's your name?
Kendra Sexton.
Hey, Kendra, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Could we turn her up, by the way? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on what we're talking about here?
My biggest question and concern is, we're seeing with the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and we're getting all these, the videos and live updates and so forth. We have not seen any footage regarding Ukraine and Russia in the conflict to the degree that we have seen Israel and Hamas. So my question is, where is the footage showing where this money that Biden keeps wanting to allocate to Zelensky and Ukraine, where is the footage for the war that's going on over there? Because it's, mainstream media doesn't report on it, period. But even on X and any independent
you
site,
don't see it.
You don't see the type of footage. You don't see it. It's just not there. We're seeing footage of parties going on in Ukraine at the pool, and soldiers riding on buses and singing and whatever. Where is this footage of what the American taxpayers are paying for this aid that's going to Ukraine?
You are absolutely right, ma'am. This is something that has bothered me to no end. And I will say, one thing to make very clear, what we have seen already happen in Israel and in Gaza far surpasses what has gone on in terms of like the human cost and even infrastructure cost and everything than what we've seen come out of Ukraine. And in terms of videos, I do remember at the very beginning of the war in Ukraine, you saw some videos. That is totally stopped now. And even back then, the videos you saw, there were very like one-off sort of things where there's like 3 guys with a gun, type of deal. There is some truth to the fact. There is some truth to the fact that, like, these terror groups like Hamas, they're big fans of filming. It's part of their recruiting tactic. However, we live in a new media age where you would expect far more videos to come out of the fighting. With the amount of money we're spending, I think it's not too much to ask for the American people to want to see an accounting. And this is something a lot of people don't understand. They see, oh, we're spending all this money in Ukraine, and they're missing that we have absolutely no requirement for them to explain to us how they're spending that money. Zero requirement. They don't have to tell us, hey, we spent $100,000 here, $100,000 there. They don't have to explain any of it, not even a little bit. And so that should cause a lot of concern among Americans, because if you or I were given money by the government, damn well they'd want to know where we were spending it. And even without them giving us money, when we make money at work, they want to know. If you get $600 sent to you on Venmo, they're going to be all over you for, hey, where'd you get that $600? They want their tax dollars. But when they send that money, they turn around and send it to Ukraine. Suddenly it's, hey, we don't need anybody to go looking and snooping around for where that money's getting spent. Meanwhile, if you investigate this, what you find is a bunch of the Ukrainian commanders and stuff like that. There's a bunch who have fled and gone different places and stuff, and they're living in these luxury mansions and whatnot and have supercars. And then the Ukrainian government says, oh, don't worry, that's not American money. Well, money, money is fungible, and it's sort of the same thing that the Biden administration is saying about the Iran money, the $6 billion they gave them. They say, oh, well, that $6 billion didn't fund all this terror. It's only for food. It's only for medicine, only for aid. Well, okay. Even if you accept that as a premise and you say, okay, the Biden administration implemented these rules, okay, the problem with that is like any budget, if I tell you I'm going to give you $6,000 a month to pay your mortgage, your food, and your insurance, but you can't spend it on anything else, well, what I've done is I've just freed up your $6,000 a month you were spending on those things, and now you can spend that on whatever you want. So it doesn't matter what you allocate it for. What matters is you've freed up extra money for them. And so that's a situation we found ourselves in. So I appreciate your question. I think that, this is something people need to be asking themselves is where is the proof of where this money's going? And also take a look at the guns being used by Hamas. I can't tell you where they came from, but I can tell you that they are using some American weapons. Where are the two places we have sent a lot of weapons? Afghanistan, we left them there, and then Ukraine, we've had plenty of shipments going. So where did Hamas get the American weapons? I would like to know.
Yeah, I have to make this comment before I go. I don't want to hold you up too long. I have a son-in-law who did 4 tours over in the Middle East with the Screaming Eagles out of Fort Campbell. And at times we didn't know where he was or what he was doing. And so when they just pulled out of Afghanistan, one of the things, that he came and he talked to us about was, I feel like I went through everything for all those years for nothing. He said, he has a traumatic brain injury from it. And he said, what did I go over? He went over at 18. What did I go over there and fight for? And then on top of that, back to the Ukraine thing, we live in a digital age.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone's recording, all you have to do is look at YouTube and Rumble and everything else. Everyone's constantly got their phone up and hitting record and recording anybody and everybody that's doing everything. So the fact that you have no video coming out of Ukraine, not from soldiers, not from people that are being affected by the war, nothing.
Yeah, it's a little odd. I thank you for the call. I mean, this is why this is special, us having call-ins on this show, because I love hearing from people like you. I mean, the real voice of the people is the voice of the people. I think that this format of having people call in and be able to share all the images and everything live, we're kind of marrying two great worlds, talk radio and TV, where they're able to deliver the visual. And I think it's going to create something beautiful, because I love these moments. Can we bring on the next caller, please? Oh, we dropped them. We've got some call droppers tonight. I will say this, as we sort of get further into this, I think it's important to point out that Biden's failures as president have a human cost that is beyond calculation. That's the tough thing, is it's very hard to calculate just how bad this is. I do know, I had a friend ask me last night, they said, Robbie, when this all started, when Biden was sworn in, did you think it was going to get this bad? And I said, I did, but it feels worse than I thought it would. And there's a distinction there. I didn't know how much it would bother me. I didn't know how much it would bother the people that I love. And that's not just my family. That's like you people online, I love a lot of you guys. You guys have had my back for years. You guys, really have fought alongside me on many issues. And seeing how it has hurt everybody in so many different ways, whether it be economic or just the way that you connect to our country and the special things our founders built, and how quickly things can be destroyed. You look even last night, I was having a hard time. We had that conversation in the midst of what was happening at the embassy. Some people don't know, so I'll play some videos here. This is a look at, I'm going to play you a number of videos. So I'm not going to take the time of shouting each one's location and everything, but I'll tell you this before we start playing them. These are U.S. embassies, majority. We've got an Israeli embassy in here, and we've got, I believe it's a French embassy. And this is in Lebanon, Turkey, and Beirut. There might be one more. I believe there's one more, but this was happening all over the Middle East is the point. And that's not all the countries it was happening. This just, I don't want to play 100 videos, but I'm going to play you a couple of them of what was going on last night. And this anger and resentment in the Middle East is building and is potentially boiling into something very dangerous. There was a McDonald's attack today too, which might sound weird to you, but in foreign places, attacking American sort of icons has become a normal thing over many decades. And so it's really not that weird. It's something that you kind of could expect. So we'll play this video here again, though. If you do want to call in while we're playing these videos, just wait on hold. We'll bring you on. It's 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. Don't be shy. This is life. Let's talk about it. So here we go. Here's some videos from these embassies. Here's another one. This is them. So this is what's building out there. This is Iraq. Again, that's the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. They're marching on. Here's another video of it. Here's another video of it.
To watch people.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, that's a United States Congresswoman who is standing with these people. I didn't mean to play that one yet. We'll get to that in a moment. And, so this resentment is out there. It's building like crazy. And it's really a powder keg in the Middle East. I mean, this is such a dangerous situation. There's very few equivalents to what's going on and what we're facing. And this could really go off the rails at any moment. And meanwhile, we have Joe Biden. Okay. Joe Biden's the guy there at the controls. And you really have to wonder what the consequences of that are going to be. Okay. Because he went to Israel today. And this is what he got on Air Force One and said. Look at this headline. Biden says Palestinians got to learn how to shoot straight. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. Think about that. The President of the United States of America would like Hamas, a terrorist organization, and other terrorist groups who are Palestinian offshoots, to shoot better at Israel to avoid situations like this. He would like them to be a better shot. And you might go, Robbie, that's probably out of context. I mean, that seems like a crazy thing. A president would never say that. Okay, I'm going to play you guys the video in a second, reluctantly, because every time that I've watched it so far, my soul, I feel it die a little bit more. Okay, I mean, because this is the pinnacle of stupidity. Like, what are we doing as a country? What are we doing when this guy, who can barely, honestly, the video is worse than the quote, if I'm being perfectly honest. The video is worse than the quote. And then I've got an amazing video from Joe Rogan show that kind of really summarizes this beautifully. Okay, so we'll go to the video. Go to the video real quick. I'll let you guys judge for yourself. Here we go.
And I'm not suggesting that Hamas deliberately did it either. It's that old thing, gotta know how to shoot straight. And it's not the first time Hamas has launched something that didn't function.
Let's watch that again.
And I'm not suggesting that Hamas deliberately did it either. It's that old thing, gotta know how to shoot straight. And it's not the first time Hamas has launched something that didn't function.
So again, this was worse. This is worse than the New York Times, or I'm sorry, New York Post headline that was up there. This is much worse than the New York Post headline. Okay, because they say here, Biden says Palestinians got to learn how to shoot straight. In the video, he actually says Hamas. He names Hamas, a violent terrorist organization that has slaughtered babies, women, and children in their beds in some cases. Cowardly, cowardly barbarians. He is asking them, as president of the United States, to please learn how to shoot a little straighter when they're firing rockets at Israeli families. I have heard a lot of dumb things from people in political power. Unfortunately, we all have. But this may be the single dumbest thing I have ever heard one say. And I lived through the presidency of George Bush and had to listen to his bizarre musings, okay? I had to listen to all those words he made up. Sometimes it was funny even. But it was also embarrassing. And this is worse. This is, I would say, the dumbest thing a president has ever said. And I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, I just look at this and I'm stunned. If you have thoughts on this, this is one that actually really bothers me. So if you have thoughts on this, do call in 615-703-5888. Don't be shy. If you disagree, go ahead and call. But call in. I'm wondering if I'm alone in this outrage about this. Am I the only one who feels like this is absolutely unacceptable and the guy belongs at a bingo game eating Jell-O, not on Air Force One dealing with the world as it burns? Maybe one has something to do with the other. Maybe the fact he's not at a bingo game eating Jell-O is the reason why the world is burning. Makes sense to me. Because the man is mentally unfit. It's like his brain is being run off a floppy disk. Okay? And in that video, his mental acuity actually seems slightly better than normal. And I'm talking about a video where he asked a terrorist group to shoot better at our allies. That's how insane things have gotten. I mean, it's honestly, it's hard to believe that it's real. My first instinct when I saw this was that it was fake. I had to go double check, triple check, because I was like, there's no way. There's no way he did that. But he did. He did. So to the original topic, and you can call in about that. You know, if you call in, we'll go back to that topic, 615-703-5888. We're going to get into the actual bombing here. And feel free, you know, if you, because there were a lot of people, you know, we got some people who wanted me to die sending me messages today. And I will say here, I'll pull some of them up. Are you really that big pig that you condone the genocide of the people of Gaza? May hellfire rain on your home and family as you have allowed it to rain on the homes of families of Gaza. First of all, that is a lot of power to hand me. I did not allow it to rain down on Gaza. That wasn't me. I didn't give the green light. So not sure where you're getting that from. The hope that somebody will die. Here's another one. And I laughed. I have to admit, I laughed at this one. Their threat was come to the UK and talk. You know, you can read it here. There it is. Come to the UK and talk. I'm sorry. If you live in the UK, do not message somebody in the United States and say, come to the UK and talk, you know what, as a threat. Okay. It's kind of laughable. Like everybody remembers what happened in the war, okay, between our two countries, you know, the formation of America. We all remember that. So the British and UK in general, when we hear those words, it doesn't exactly evoke strength, especially since you've allowed a ludicrous number of migrants to come in who are destroying your country. So, you know, not the best threat. I will say an interesting thing, you know, it says you gonna be dead and your kids are gonna be growing still. It's bizarre. I will say this about that. You know, it is a weird tactic to wish death on somebody as a way of trying to convince them that you are correct. Not the best tactic, but you guys can keep it up. But those people, it's funny, they never call. They never call in. They never come up to me in person. It's like the Antifa people. When Matt Walsh and myself and my wife did the rally against genital mutilation, we had thousands and thousands of people descend upon Nashville. Very successful, passed the law. We got the law done. Praise God. You cannot mutilate a child in our state. You cannot give a sex change to a child. You can't give them puberty blockers, none of it, okay? And we won in court when they challenged the law. But something funny happened at that rally. There were Antifa people at the front who were saying, F you, fascist. That was their chant, very original stuff. And they wouldn't stop screaming it, okay? So I see these Antifa people at the front doing this, okay, while I'm on stage. And, when I got off stage, first of all, the thing that got them to stop saying it was I said, if you support President Trump, say F you, fascist. And then they stopped saying it, like, because they're so cognitively like scrambled, they couldn't keep doing it. It's almost like those kids who believe they're going to break their mom's back by stepping on the crack. Like, that's how cognitively disconnected and unaware they are of reality. Anyways, as this goes on, I have security at it. Matt's got security. My wife's got security, blah, blah, blah. I'm a pretty big guy, though. So I decided to go out and talk to some of these people who hate me. And I went out on the street and, first thing, there's these like 4 guys or 5 guys. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 Antifa guys. And they've got their little bandana masks on and everything. Very cute. And they saw me, and I swear you could see their eyes look up and they're like, we're good. And they didn't say that, but it was like, that's the message we were getting. They turn around, they walk away. So suddenly, when there was no barrier between us, no police, no security, they have nothing to say. It's pretty par for the course, but feel free to call in if you want to talk about this subject. We're going to get into this bombing at 615-703-5888. In terms of the bombing, so what I said, I played this video on my Twitter page where it shows that this happened at a parking lot. So the narrative that was sold to us, look, there's Tim Pool. The narrative that was sold to us was that this happened at a hospital, okay? And that at the hospital, 500 plus people died. Let's get all the facts on the table here. The narrative that the media spread, okay, was that Israel bombed a hospital filled with women and children intentionally. They killed 500 plus people. And this was something that they were proud of. Okay, the media pushed this story. I waited because I said something doesn't feel right here. And the number one tell for me was that Hamas's headquarters is underneath a hospital in Gaza. And Israel has not attacked that hospital. And that's a different hospital, for the record, okay? Israel knows that that's there, and they have not attacked it. If they won't attack that, logically, what would make you think they would attack this hospital? That didn't make sense to me. So I said, I'm going to kind of wait to react here because something feels off. And you notice these claims were made by Hamas, fog of war and everything, when it was too late for people to verify what was going on. And so what happened is all these journalists, who are mostly very young people, went to woke schools. All of their friends support Hamas in Palestine. We're talking about people whose friends were literally at these pro-Hamas rallies and stuff. They go and run with this. They're like, Israel kills 500 plus people in bombing on hospital of innocent people, say Palestinians. Okay, they don't mention those people are Hamas terrorists. That was what they ran with. In reality, this morning, video came through of what was bombed. Okay. And reality is very, very different from the story they sold us. After all the drama yesterday, it turns out the Gaza hospital was not bombed. The parking lot was. 500 people did not die. Oh, and the rocket was not from Israel. It was from a failed rocket that Palestinian terrorists shot at Israel. Absolutely insane. And so this is the video of that parking lot. You guys can see it here. And for scale, you can see this is not a giant parking lot. I'm not sure you can fit 500 people in the parking lot standing shoulder to shoulder. Okay? The buildings themselves, you can see as they do this turn around, the buildings are
الاحتلال الصهيوني في
Okay.
حق المدنيين الآمنين في
So
مشفى
pure
الأهلي.
propaganda we're talking about. Did people die? I don't doubt some people died. Apparently, there's a couple of encampments over here, but it's nowhere near 500 people. I mean, not even close. But they did not try to verify this story, and that's kind of the crux of the issue here, because this is what happened: is a bunch of people got push alerts. Sorry, I'm going to pull this up real quick. They got push alerts to their phones, and so let's pull up the New York Times article here. I'm going to show you how they changed the headlines on these stories. Let's see. Sorry, I think I need a drink of water too. Here they are. Let's take a look at these headlines real quick. I want you to look at them while I take this drink of water, and then we'll discuss. And just a reminder before we discuss this, the call-in number is 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. And we'll take those calls. So here we've got the first headline was Israeli strike kills hundreds in hospital, Palestinians say. They don't say that those Palestinians are Hamas, but they affirmatively state that Israel, it was their strike, and they killed those people, hundreds of them, in a hospital. Second headline update. At least 500 dead in strike on Gaza hospital, on it. Palestinians say. Again, they don't mention the Palestinians are Hamas. Third headline. At least 500 dead in blast at Gaza hospital, Palestinians say. Again, they don't mention those people are Hamas, but you see the tweak there, okay? At Gaza hospital, because technically the parking lot, it's at Gaza hospital. So that should be an indication to you that the writer had some bird in their ear, let them know, hey, the buildings are actually intact. This is in the parking lot. But they were still running with the 500 dead. And remember, if you've got like Apple push alerts or different type of phones news push alerts, oftentimes it cuts off part of the headline. So you may just see Israeli strike kills hundreds in hospital. Okay. When you break it down, this happened across every major media outlet. Okay. And when you break it down, the end result of that is probably a billion or a billion plus people believing the first story that they push, which is Israeli strike kills hundreds in hospital. Okay. Maybe they see the second one and then they think it's 500 plus. Okay. And then as you go further from there, we're going to pull up another story. This was the next one they landed on. A blast killed hundreds at a hospital in Gaza. Well, that's different. No mention of Palestinians or Israel now. It's just a mysterious blast that killed people. It's horrible. People died. But the way they write this is just a blast out of nowhere. Killed hundreds of people at a hospital. No sourcing. Nothing there. So no longer says who said it. No longer says that they believe Israel did it because they know that's not true. And they jump topics to Jim Jordan losing his vote for speaker. It's like, can we change the subject, please? That's what it comes off as, is can we change the subject? This guy, if you've ever had the misfortune of seeing his face or his name, if we could pull him up on screen, we got it. Okay. This is Ben Collins. Okay. He is an obsessive propagandist, obsessed with Elon Musk ever since he bought Twitter, now X. And he put this up last night. You know, it's a headline, at least 500 people killed in a hospital bombing in Gaza, Palestinian officials claim, again, not specifying that that's Hamas propaganda. And he just says a hospital. So again, he's spreading disinformation here. He knows what he's doing. And, you know, he's corrected here by Community Notes. I love Community Notes. And let's pull up. So he's spreading disinformation. Now let's pull up his bio at NBC. Here's his bio at NBC. Ben Collins covers disinformation, extremism, and the internet for NBC News. See that? Ben Collins covers disinformation, extremism, and the internet for NBC News. Maybe Ben should look in the mirror. Maybe he should take care of his own disinformation first and stop spreading lies on the internet. Seemed kind of extreme to me. You know, jumping to that judgment. These people that mainstream media pass off as reporters, They're often they're activists pushing a narrative to please their side. When they go to parties on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday, they're not parties with other journalists typically, at least not just them. They're parties with the elite in politics who are on their side, and some other journalists who are also on their side. This results in a feedback loop of scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. They get access, they get what they want, they spread the narratives that the people on their side want. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of journalism today. And it's why I always say journalism is not your friend. You need to verify, then trust. Not trust, then verify. You need to verify, then trust. These people are so far gone, you cannot trust and verify. You need to verify first, then trust them. And somebody's got to have a long track record of being factual for you to trust them. So here's what really happened. I'm going to play this video, and hopefully you'll be able to hear my mic, because I'm going to try to narrate it to you. So if studio can keep the mic up for this, you could even turn down the actual video itself, because it doesn't really have great sound. This is the bombing that was caught on video, and it shows what actually happened last night. So here you can see, I've got to turn around in my seat. This is the rocket breaking up. What you're seeing behind me, that's the rocket breaking up. And now you see it falling. And as it's falling, it then hits that parking lot, which should happen in a second here. There it is, just hit the parking lot. That is what actually happened. So that is a failed rocket. This is like indisputable stuff. This is not an argument. This is not a he said, she said. This is on video. You see where it's launched from within Palestine. There's been geolocation experts who have attested to the fact that it came from there. It's very clear what's going on. Okay. So I don't want to hear any excuses about it. The narratives that were pushed, and there's people on the right who did this too. Some, I mean, way more on the left, but there's people on the right to hold accountable too, who are buying into this pro-Hamas propaganda and spreading it. And maybe they're spreading it, for the views and the monetization. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that, I try not to jump to be first. I try to jump to be right. And, waiting was the right thing here, because it became plainly evident. And you can see in this video from Israel, they also put this video out. And in this video, you can see, they're actually outlining where is the hospital, what are the hospital buildings, where's the parking lot, the before, the after, and you can see where it landed. They even went through the trouble of putting an image of what normal rockets look like when they leave an impact crater and what this looked like. So you can see very clearly this does not match Israeli attacks at all. Not even close. I mean, every piece of evidence is showing you very clearly what happened. And you can see even the United States came out today and in the Wall Street Journal admitted that U.S. signals intelligence shows that Gaza militants were behind the hospital blast. Deadly blast provokes protests, anger in Middle East, and complicates Biden's visit. Well, I'd say, yeah, it did. Maybe that was the intent. Did anybody think about that? We're supposed to be going over there to meet with Abbas, who represents the Palestinians, and, the king of Jordan, and representatives from Egypt and representatives from Israel. Maybe that was the intent here with this mass propaganda campaign. Keep things hot. Try to expand this out for a bigger war. Because while this is all happening, and we've got, Molotov cocktails thrown at Jewish synagogues in Berlin, Germany. We've got 6 French airports evacuated after threats of attack. The United States has urged its citizens not to travel to Lebanon and recommended that U.S. citizens in Lebanon make appropriate arrangements to leave the country. We've got all that going on. And then we've got Iran as the embassies burn, okay? As embassies burn all over the Middle East, you've got embassies either burning or being protested, rioted outside. You've got all these different situations going on. The Iranian embassy just tweeted during that same time, not just now, but during that time, time is up. They then put up what is and I don't have this image here, but I'll tell you about it. They put up this symbolic black flag. And that black flag, it represents a calling to extremists to come home, and maybe sends another message that we don't know. But it's a very rare thing that they do. Last time they put it up was when Soleimani got killed by the United States of America. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of an idea of the chaos they're trying to sow across not just the Middle East, but the world. It's intentional, and at the same time, we've still got, don't forget, Biden expected to seek $60 billion for Ukraine and aid for Israel in $100 billion funding request to Congress. So again, as I predicted from the news yesterday, this funding request was going to be majority about Ukraine because they know it's the last bite they can take for Ukraine. So they're trying to get as much as they can for Ukraine. Continue that slush fund. That's what they want. And so the next thing that happens in all of this is you see that Rashida Tlaib, we're moving into the insurrection now. So if you have thoughts on any of this, call in at 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. I'll take you on. Let me know what you're thinking. People want to hear from you. Democratic rep, this ABC News headline, Democratic rep Rashida Tlaib refused to apologize Wednesday for saying Tuesday that Israel is to blame for the hospital explosion that day in Gaza, an accusation that sparked political backlash against Tlaib from Republicans as Israel denies fault. At least ABC News is sort of admitting the premise is right, that she was wrong. At least they're doing that. That's not very many mainstream media places were even admitting that. So at least they're admitting that. And that's part of the damage is done thing. The assault, the lie in the hoax they perpetrated yesterday, it was not something that they're ever going to be sorry for. It was the intent. The message got across to enough people. That was a win for Hamas, even with the truth out now, because they got that message through. She's not only refusing to apologize, okay? She led a rally that you could call an insurrection if you're comparing it to J6, okay? She led this. We're just going to say she led the insurrection today, okay? Never forget 10/18, okay? The day of the Democrat pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas insurrection, led by Rashida Tlaib, a sitting member of Congress for the Democrats. Unbelievable, right? I mean, but listen to this. Does this sound like an individual who is entirely peaceful? Or does this sound like somebody who's trying to incite violence? You tell me.
Stop! It's not a threat. It isn't. They think we're joking. I think the White House and everyone thinks that we're just going to sit back and let this just continue to happen. No.
This isn't a threat. Basically, she's saying this isn't a threat. It's a promise. She's saying, I think the White House thinks we're all going to sit back and just let this happen. Are we? No. I mean, that sounds, you could say, you hold them to the same rules they held us to. I mean, I think you could definitely say this looks like an insurrection. I mean, look at these photos. You guys see these photos? I'd say, you could compare that to J6. Smaller crowd, but that's typical for Democrats. I mean, look at this. Democrats have a tough time sometimes, I mean, like they couldn't get quite the turnout, but it's like a mini J6 here. Okay. I mean, tell me what looks different here. They're taking over in order to disrupt a session, which, by the way, was an important session today. They were trying to elect a new Speaker of the House, which didn't happen. A whole other story. But they're trying to disrupt a proceeding about naming a very important person to power. How is this different than J6? And there's small things you could quibble at, but in general, if you look at these images, they feel very similar. Maybe there's not smoke. So there's not smoke bombs. Capitol Police didn't use any. These protesters didn't use any. So, maybe that's the difference here. But, let's watch some videos from this insurrection real quick and see how different it really feels. I'm going to play my favorite video first because this guy, his face is priceless, okay? I am going to warn when I play these videos, I very quickly have to turn the audio on. So you might miss the audio here. So I might play it twice just so you can see this in all its glory. And call in if you've got thoughts about this. 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. Here we go. Let's start that over real quick, guys. Watch this face. He's acting like they're beating him to death. I mean, like, this is the epitome of the, like, I can't breathe, when they're trying to actually be, like, kind of soft, like they're really not trying to be that crazy. They're just trying to do their job. And he's acting like it's literally the end of the world. Like, you are destroying me. You're breaking my arm. Watch this. Watch this. We'll go back to it. So they don't know I'm going to do this, but I've got my amazing team with me here in studio. Do you guys feel like that looks similar to January 6th? Exactly similar is what we've got one saying. What do you say? Oh, she thought it was January 6th. She's busy working all the audio controls and everything, so she couldn't quite tell. She thought that was January 6th. See, it's indiscernible in many ways, so the question is, are we talking 15 years in solitary confinement or 25? I'm not sure, but I'm sure they're going to be treated similarly, right, to the J6 people. Naturally, these people, they got held in solitary confinement with no trial for years. I'm sure that's going to be the standard here, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene actually has formally requested, you can see here behind me, formally requested that the United States Capitol Police preserve all video surveillance footage, photographic evidence, police reports, and arrest records from all House office buildings on October 18th, 2023, following the Rashida Tlaib-led insurrection. Here's the letter. So that's Marjorie. She's asking, formal request that the United States Capitol Police preserve all video surveillance footage, photographic evidence, police reports, and arrest records from all House office buildings on October 18th. The group that organized the insurrection, Jewish Voice for Peace, is a pro-Islamic anti-Semitic group that seeks the destruction of the state of Israel, according to the Anti-Defamation League. Okay, here's something you all need to know. Okay, this is very important about the left. It's something that has been a strength for them for a long time, and we have to break this whole paradox down so that people understand it. These people are sick, okay? They do things with language to emotionally trick you into thinking that they are something they are not, okay? So in this case, they say they are Jewish Voice for Peace is the name of the group. Okay. We're talking about a group that had people out there today at this rally, very celebratory, seemingly, of Hamas. Okay. So I don't understand how that could be Jewish Voice for Peace. They're clearly presenting support for the Palestinian cause of fighting against Israel. Okay. It's trickery that's used all the time. So it's kind of like when Democrats name a bill in Congress. If you ever see a bill in the news that says Democrats introduce the We Love Puppies bill, all Republicans vote against the We Love Puppies bill. It's done to evoke an emotion within you and to provoke you to go, what is wrong with those Republicans? Why would they vote against the We All Love Puppy bills? Okay? It's very simple. The problem is that inside the bill it says, oh, let's euthanize all the puppies. Okay? It doesn't matter what's inside because the media is running with all Republicans vote against the We Love Puppies bill. Okay, so it doesn't matter if inside it says they're going to euthanize all the puppies. What matters is it was branded correctly by the Democrats to trick you and emotionally fool you into supporting their position. And at the end of the day, you may end up in a position, if you're one of these like lightweight, younger Democrat activists, you may be accidentally supporting a cause of euthanizing dogs when you're actually a big dog lover because you don't pay attention to the details. That is often the case when you see these stories that seem unbelievable, like Republicans stand against the I Love Kittens bill. You know, like it's just crazy. It's crazy. If people used more common sense discernment, they would realize that sounds kind of nuts. Let's look a little further into it. And that's kind of the job of the show is like, let's get down to the truth. Let's look further into it. And so she's asking, Marjorie Taylor Greene is asking for this to be treated like J6, you know? And I think that that is a sound thing to ask for. You know, we've got a little more video here from the insurrection. Let's go ahead and play it. I don't know. That looks like January 6th to me. Very similar. We've got a caller. We're going to bring him in. Let's get that call going. Give me your name, where you're from. I think we're still waiting to bring him on. Can you check to see if that call's on? I can hear you now. Yes, yes. David from Connecticut. Tell me, what are you thinking about this?
Well, I saw that video and I'm kind of laughing because I'm wondering, do we know if they let these insurrectionists in on October 18th? Did they get were the doors held open for them by Capitol Police? Or was it like January 6th? Was it like that, or did they actually break in? Do we know how this went down?
That's a very good question. Were police waving them in? Because I saw, there are January 6th videos where police are waving the people inside. I don't think that happened. I don't think police waved them in. It's a good question. Did Rashida let them in? I'm not sure. Was Rashida the door person? I have no idea. So that's something that's going to need to be investigated. I think we're going to have to end up in a situation where we have a full-scale investigation of this and investigate, the phone calls and the text messages of Rashida Tlaib, I think, need to be examined. I think you've got to look and see what possible coordination was going on. I think that's very clear. I don't think that you can, just walk away from this and say, oh, well, we're going to let them do this. They arrested a bunch of people today, so I'm assuming these people are going to be charged with massive crimes. I mean, I would assume they're going to be treated the same way as January 6th, unless, of course, we have different rules for different folks. And here's the thing, by the way. This is almost worse than January 6th, if you think about it from the vantage point, that the people on January 6th, they could at least say, well, we didn't know this was wrong. We didn't know we couldn't go inside or whatever, or we didn't know that we couldn't, impede a congressional proceeding or impede members of Congress from getting to where they need to be. And they can't say this. The insurrectionists of 1018, they know what happened to the people on January 6th. So you could almost say maybe these charges need to be upgraded from the J6 charges. Somebody could make that argument.
Yeah, and I also kind of wonder, I don't know, what do you think is going to happen to the footage? Do you think this stuff's going to get deleted? I have a sneaking suspicion it is. I'm just curious what you think. Do you think that all the evidence here is actually going to get magically, disappear? Yeah, it's going to disappear or something.
I think that's a question of who ends up our House Speaker. If it's Jim Jordan, I would wager to guess we will have that footage. And I think that'd be good to get. Let's see if maybe Rashida was the door person. I think everybody deserves to know that. Thank you for calling in. If anybody else wants to call in, 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. We'd be happy to bring you on to talk about this. Interesting thing, as all this is going on, tonight, Mark McKinnon, who, let me explain who he is first, senior international correspondent for the Globe and Mail. Okay, so this is, paper in London. He says Hamas co-founder now acknowledges, quote, mistakes were made in October 7th attacks. Says group willing to release women, children, and foreigners that it's holding hostage if Israel agrees to a 24-hour pause. And he says he interviewed Hassan Youssef, the head of Hamas in the West Bank. Now, I find this very suspicious for a number of different reasons. First of all, isn't it weird how journalists can so easily get in touch with these heads of Hamas, but Israel and the United States have not killed them yet? Not the journalists, of course, but the Hamas leaders, the people responsible for the murders on October 7th. I think that that's like the no-brainer. Go for the head of the snake and go down the next level, get those snakes, go down the next level, get those snakes until all the snakes at the very bottom are so afraid of being snakes that they scurry out. Okay? This was something Trump understood very well, is that if you go for the head, first of all, you best not miss. But secondly, if you go for them, understand that it will strike fear in the hearts of the people underneath them. Okay? I was sort of perplexed by that, and not really perplexed, maybe that's the wrong word, but kind of disgusted. If a journalist can get in touch with Hassan Youssef should not be breathing. Okay? As a co-founder of Hamas, as head of Hamas in the West Bank, knowing of the October 7th attacks, I see no excuse for him not to be eliminated by the U.S. or Israel. Okay, because they're responsible. Again, people will say, well, why the U.S.? They have 25 plus American hostages. Okay, those are the people that the U.S. need to get involved for, and only them. Bring them home. Once they're home, say, Israel, we support what you've got to do. You do what you've got to do. Protect the lives of women and children. Don't do anything that's going to hurt, a bunch of innocent Palestinian children. But go after Hamas and dismantle them, and you've got our full support doing that. Go and dismantle them. Because we're going to have perpetual war if not. That was the case, here. It also feels suspicious to me they want a 24-hour pause. What could they be planning in those 24 hours? What could they be wanting to do in those 24 hours? I think that's a question worth asking. If you have any ideas of what that would be, you can call in before we end the show today, 615-703-5888. That's 615-703-5888. But that's what's going on that end. Now, I talked to you guys earlier about a Joe Rogan reaction that really, I felt like summed up our president, Joe Biden. Unfortunately, he's all of our president. I wish he wasn't, but he is. So let's play this video again of Joe Biden, okay? And then I'm going to play the video of Joe Rogan so you guys can see this in all its glory. Here's Joe asking Hamas to be a better shot. Okay, and yes, I'm serious. He's asking Hamas to be a better shot and to be more direct, have better aim when you're shooting rockets at Israel. Please, that is the message from the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Here we go.
And I'm not suggesting that Hamas deliberately did it either. That's that old thing, got to know how to shoot straight. And it's not the first time Hamas has launched something that didn't function.
Now let's jump to the Joe Rogan reaction video.
And it's all pulled tight like a lizard.
He's like he got the formaldehyde in him already. He looks like he's got the formaldehyde in him already. They're
not good.
Gonna just press a button.
Skin pulled tight like a lizard. He looks like he's got the formaldehyde in him already. I can't disagree. Again, like I said, Joe Biden, He belongs at a bingo game eating Jell-O, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being serious. Like, he would be much happier there. His mental acuity lines. In fact, honestly, there's people at bingo who run circles around him. So I don't want to disparage them, because I've gone and I've played bingo with these people. They're actually very quick-witted, and they're very quick. Okay, so Joe Biden is going to have some issues there, but at least he can't hurt anybody. He's going to lose at bingo, but he can't hurt anybody there. He does not belong on Air Force One as president of the United States. He does not belong making decisions that impact everyone's safety. The world is burning under his watch. And meanwhile, the people who support him, people like Cher, yes, the singer Cher, this is where there's Salat in their head, okay? Look at this story from today. Cher threatens to leave America if Donald Trump is reelected as president. Quote, I almost got an ulcer the last time. If he gets in, who knows? This time I will leave the country. This is like the oldest threat possible from celebrities. I'm going to leave the country if ex-Republican wins. Nobody believes you. Okay, you guys are the boy who cried wolf. We all wish you would move. Like, literally, we will pay for the tickets for you to leave. I'm not joking. Offer to share right now. Dead serious. We will pay for first-class tickets for you to leave America if you renounce your citizenship. Okay? You have to renounce your citizenship, and we will get you first-class tickets, and we will crowdfund for your moving expenses to move your furniture from Malibu to Canada or wherever the hell it is you're going. You should go to China or Cuba. You'd like it there. We'll get you a first-class ticket, though, at the very least. I can't promise what people are going to crowdfund for you, but we will buy you your first-class tickets to move to whatever country that is. If you promise you're not coming back, okay, and renounce your citizenship. All right, and we will do our damnedest to get your furniture move funded as well. All right, we got a call coming in. Let's take them in. You are live with us. Tell us your name and where you're from. I think they may have dropped off, did they?
This is our first-time caller here.
Hey, Tom, how are you doing?
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Man. How about you? Got a little bit of a lag.
Awesome. Where are you from?
I mean, this is Traveling Fools. I think you know us from Twitter.
Oh, hey.
But, anyway, man, checking out your show. Like it, man. Like what you're doing here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What do you think about all this craziness going on in the Middle East right now?
Man, I think it's an absolute circus, and I'm waiting to see how it affects travel to some other Muslim countries and stuff like that. I think it could potentially spread quite large. So
it looks like it's going to.
Watch and see what happens.
Yeah, it really looks like it's going to. And what do you make of this? The age-old threat that Cher's making, that she's going to leave the country if Trump wins the presidency again.
I mean, I'm with you. Like, let's set the PayPal up now and go on ahead and get it running. I mean,
I'm with you. Yeah, no, we will take care of the tickets. I think we're just going to have to do like a give, send, go for all the furniture, because the lady's a pack rat. I used to drive by the house that she lives in Malibu, and have heard through some mutual friends she's a little bit of a pack rat. So I think we may have to crowdfund for all that furniture moving. But we'll take care of those first-class tickets for her. She's got to renounce the citizenship and promise she's not coming back. But what did you think about this?
I mean, I could go for that.
What did you think about the situation at the Capitol today, the Rashida Tlaib-led insurrection?
Well, I mean, we all know she's absolutely insufferable just to start with already. But her standing out there screaming all that stuff, and then everybody jumping in behind. I kind of agree with like what you were saying earlier, where they kind of know not what they do. These people are jumping behind. And it's like they're going to cut their noses off to spite their faces.
Exactly. I think that they're not really thinking through long-term consequences. Children usually don't, and they kind of behave like children. My children are much better behaved than these people, and much more mature. And honestly, they're more well read in on what's going on in the world than these people as well. It's kind of embarrassing. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, oh man, every single one of my children, including our youngest, I would trust her more implicitly in Congress than any of these people in the squad. Not even close. Like, because she at least my daughter has common sense. She's been taught right from wrong. She would generally look to do the good thing. And people who do bad things would be in trouble, because let me tell you, that girl does not mess around when it comes to consequences. You do the wrong thing, she is going to tell you did the wrong thing. And sometimes she even jokes around, like, if I forget to like feed the dogs on time. She'll be like, you need to go to jail. You forgot to feed them right now. You need to do it now. They're hungry, you know? And that's only like 20 minutes after their lunchtime. So, you know, she's a real, she's an enforcer. And, you know, honestly, some of the big cities in our country could use that right now. Some law enforcement, some rules, you know, really put things in place. Did you see this story at the beginning of the show about this man who is a football coach in Australia being named to the hottest 100 women list? His picture's up on screen now. This is, again, a man who's a football coach. I think that's soccer in Australia, who won 100 hottest women in Maxim magazine. Names himself Danielle. Did this happen when you were younger? Were there things like this going on when you were younger where men would dress up like this and win, you know, world's hottest women 100 list?
Yeah, not not even a chance. I mean, we would have all laughed at that, but I'm trying to think who that. Are we sure that isn't what's his name? It kind of looks like Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
I kind of thought it looked like Mickey Rourke nowadays.
You know what? I can't say that it's not. Okay. Looking at the photo now, I can't say no. I think no, but it's close. I mean, that's a close call. People are going to get mad at me for that, but I mean, natural reaction is I can't, you know, I mean, we're close. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of hair dye, you know. Yeah, I'm sure we could do it.
Yeah, I think you could. There's a couple stories we didn't bring up yet today as we finish out the show here. One of them was, did you see this? It's on screen now. I don't know if you've got your screen in front of you, but a caravan of migrants, and Wokeness, by the way, one of my favorite accounts on X, does incredible work. A caravan of migrants in Mexico is on its way to the U.S. border. These people are clearly not from Central America. I mean, even if they were, they're breaking into our country. But if you look at this, I ask the question all the time, you know, how are all of these people getting here? Because I understand the NGOs are funding this. I understand Soros, Open Societies, they're funding a lot of this. But on the scale that it's happening, it's unbelievable. And how do people on the left look at this image, all military age men, and not ask themselves some hard questions about what is going on here? Because to me, it's very clear.
Well, I kind of agree with you too. Well, not kind of agree, but I totally agree. Like, where are these people coming from? Like, what port are they coming into, or what airport? I mean, is it going through Venezuela or something like that? I mean, who's letting these people of that origin come in? I mean, those people, they, you know, I can guarantee they've never eaten a taco in their life.
No.
And they're coming up from, you know, Central South America. And it's like, no, those people do not look at all whatsoever.
No, and you know what? If you're not coming here to feed us delicious food, that's an even bigger problem, okay? You know, but you look at this, it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And some people get mad at me on the whole immigration thing because I'm pretty hard line on this. But the funny thing is, my family immigrated here. My family are legal immigrants. They were literally running from communism in Cuba, and they still found a way to do it legally. And for my grandfather, even, you know, my mom was able to come a little faster. Some of my family was able to come a little bit faster through the legal process. But like in my grandpa's case, he had to wait for years at the Swiss embassy. Okay. Like, they put themselves through a lot trying to make sure they didn't get thrown in jail or killed for their views and believing in freedom. And they still found a legal way to come. Now you've got these people just breaking into our country. And I actually said this recently to somebody. I said, we're having this conversation about illegal immigration. And they said, well, I think we should deport all the criminals, but everybody else you can. And I said, well, that means deport everybody because they're all criminals. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, it's very clear. I want you to imagine something. You're in your house tonight. There's 5 men. They come into your house. They break in. Okay. One of them actually breaks the door down. One of them comes up to your room and assaults you. And they sexually assault your wife. You've got 5 men in your house. When this is over and police come, do you want all 5 of them held accountable, or do you want just the one who sexually assaulted your wife? The other 4 just walked in when they weren't supposed to. Okay? They hung out on your couch while the other one was committing horrific crimes. Obviously, you want the one with horrific crimes to be held accountable, but what about the other 4? And they said, well, of course I would want them charged. Well, guess what? That's what's happening at the U.S. border. This is our country. It's akin to our house on a larger scale. And when you think about this and you start to relate it to your personal life, you start to realize this is what we're doing to our country. We are letting in groups of people who are breaking in illegally when they're not supposed to. And we're letting the dangerous ones go and rape people in our country, kill people in our country, sell drugs that kill people in our country. And then you've got the other ones who are just coming in for the free ride. They want to make money, whatever it is. They're all breaking the law when they come, but one begets the other. One allows the other. So if you allow one type, you're really allowing both. You agree or disagree?
No, totally agree. I 100%. Yeah, I mean, like in that scenario, I mean, that's guilt by association without a doubt.
100%.
Just standing next to them. You know, when you start looking at horrific crimes like that, there is no, you know, here nor there. It is what it is, and you got to look it in the face and say, hey, this is actually happening, so tighten it up, you know? I mean, my wife is a legal immigrant. It took us years and years and quite a bit of money to make that happen. So it's not like...
And a lot of that is because of illegal immigration, by the way. Her process would have been much faster if illegal immigration was not stealing so many resources from our country and our people. That's a big thing that people don't talk about, is the legal immigrants are the victims of this as well. They're waiting. They're being respectful. They care about our laws. They want to assimilate. And that's the other thing about illegal immigrants. They don't want to assimilate. I understand, as a Latino, I can say certain things other people can't, and that it shouldn't be that way. Everybody should be able to say this. These people coming illegally do not want to assimilate, period. They don't. They want to live out their own culture in our country, but make better money. That is the goal. And they've been taught by NGOs who are paid to go down there how to lie to get asylum. There are programs, there's pamphlets, there's videos. They teach them literally what to say, what to invent to get through that asylum system. And we can't allow that anymore. But I thank you for calling in. You were wonderful to talk to. You've got great opinions, great taste in podcasts, by the way, great taste in shows. Very, very smart in that regard. You know, I think the world of you and your choice of podcasts you're listening to right now at almost 9 o'clock at night Central. But I appreciate y'all. It's been a fantastic show. I think we're out of stories for now. We'll be back soon. You know, go to I almost just pulled a Ron Burgundy just now. I had somebody on the team just tell me, go to the logo. And I almost said, go to the logo. But no, you can... You can follow us on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, set notifications so you are set aware when the show comes live. Be a part of it by calling in next time. 615-703-5888. We love when you guys call us, and it's been a fantastic show.